So 9 years ago, Ohio officials passed a law that was designed to significantly clamp down on the interest rates that payday lenders were charging in the state. Now, payday lenders are the short-term lenders. They generally give out loans that are $300 to $500. They're due in 2 weeks. They're generally high interest loans because they tend to be loaned out to borrowers who tend to be more lower income, tend to have much less access to other traditional forms of credit. So they're a bit riskier. So the interest rates are higher, but they tend to be very high. In fact, at the time they were up over 400%, up around 500% annual percentage rate interest. And so lawmakers stepped in and said, nope, no more. We're really going to we're going to clamp them down. We're going to say 28% interest and put in other regulations. Well, the payday lending industry fought that. They went to the ballot to try to get it overturned. 2/3 of Ohio voters said, no, we like this law, we're going to keep it. And now here we are 9 years later, and there are roughly 650 payday lending stores still operating. Dozens of other title loan operations that are very similar are still operating, and they're still charging 500, 600, 700% annual percentage rate interest, depending on the loan and the type of terms. And so you might ask, well, what happened? Why? Well, the simple fact is that the legislature created a new section of law that said, here's where your payday lenders are going to go. And no payday lender went into that section of law. They instead used things like the Mortgage Lending Act and the Credit Service Organization Act, laws that have been written on the books, written decades ago in Ohio, that were never intended to house payday lenders, but that's where they found a home. And by doing so, they were able to get around the interest rate. And now, so for example, if you lend out $500 and you charge a $129 fee, for 2 weeks, that's an interest rate of about 675% for an annual percentage rate. And this is what critics are saying is the kind of loans that are still being offered here in Ohio. And some now they're taking another run at it. They're trying to once again to come in and say, look, we missed the last time 9 years ago. This law didn't work, so we need to come in and we need to really do this again. We need to instead of allowing them to get around it, we need to make sure that they stick to a lower interest rate, something that can be afforded by people who are making the loan or taking out the loans, but also still allowing enough interest and enough fees that enough payday lenders stay in business. Well, Representative Kyle Kaler, he's out of Springfield, a Republican, has a bill. The bill has not yet had a hearing yet. He's a little frustrated by that. Still waiting to get its first hearing. And he's saying that one of the things he's hearing a lot of from his Republican colleagues is they're like, well, instead of us trying to do more regulation of business, which Republicans, frankly, are not really fans of, he's saying, look, some of his colleagues are saying, well, we need more education, and we'll just let the free market kind of sort it out. Well, the problem, he says, education, it's almost, you're not going to, let's just say the key problem is desperation. When you put desperation in the mix, and many of these folks are desperate, when your car breaks down and you need $500 today in order to fix your car and get to work, regardless of whether you're educated about a high interest rate or not, you're looking for who can get me that money so that I can get to work and I can get my car fixed. Well, they're saying because of that, the education, he's arguing, is just not going to work. The free market, he says, just clearly doesn't work right now. If you look, he put up a map of Springfield because that's where he lives, and he showed that there were, I believe, eight payday lending stores in a 1-mile strip of Main Street in Springfield. Now that's not an uncommon thing. You can go around Columbus and Cleveland and find similar things. You go to a 1-mile strip of some of those cities and you'll find 8 or 9 payday lending stores. Now, you couldn't put up 8 or 9 McDonald's in an 8-mile strip and expect those all to survive. They would kill each other, and then none of them would make money. They'd all be shut down. But payday lending is different because the critics say that they don't compete on price. None of them are trying to outdo each other on price. They're just trying to make sure the loans are as accessible as possible, because that, at the end of the day, is what the customer wants. These customers many of whom aren't particularly financially savvy. They want to make sure they can get that money as quickly as possible. And so, and a number of times they end up having to go to one lender, and in 2 weeks they have to go to another lender to pay off the first one. Because look, if you don't have $500 today to fix your car, there's a good chance you're not going to have $500 in 2 weeks to pay off that loan, plus whatever fees. So they roll the loan over, they end up getting new fees. 67% of loans end up going six times or longer, and this is where critics say it really, the state needs to step in and put an end to this and make for better terms. Payday lending industry says these rules go too far, these proposals go too far, they'll be put out of business. So we'll see how that argument plays out. That argument is winning over some members of the legislature. I know that they have a good dozen lobbyists at least in there, and they also have a pretty good checkbook in which to write campaign contributions. So we'll see where this ends up. But for right now, the debate is still behind closed doors for the most part, but there's still hope that by the proponents that we're going to see some movement on this bill, at least some public action.